Cassian Andor. The Empire is choking us so slowly. We're starting not to notice. What I'm asking is this. Wouldn't you rather give it all to something real?
You know, a lot of the Star Wars shows recently have been really focused on the past and past chapters in Star Wars. So I wondered, why is this story in particular a really important chapter to look back on and explore more in Andor?
Because I think Rogue One is a great film, but it's a film about an event. You know, we don't get to know those characters pretty well. And I think it's fascinating to go back in the story of these people that were willing to sacrifice everything for a cause. You know, I think that makes them very interesting characters to go deeper. You know, Cassian is a character that finds commitment and strength in very dark moments, in very difficult moments for the galaxy, where people are oppressed and where answers apparently are not coming, you know. What needs to happen for someone to get there? What needs to happen for someone to believe so much in a cause and in the power of or the strength of a community? I think that is fascinating because it's inspiring and beautiful, you know. It's a story about a real hero, you know, and heroes. Because even though it's called Andor, you'll get to meet a whole community, people that were like crucial in you know, in the building of what we know it happened. So I think it's quite a bold move also, because with this new format of you know, 12 episodes, we have time to go deep, you know, to get to know them like film doesn't allow us to, you know. So I thought it was an interesting ride, yeah, to take.
You know, I went back and watched Rogue One recently. I tend to not often watch stuff that I've been in because the experience of it feels very different to the actual finished product. That's someone else's work. That's another artist, another painter, if you will, who've through the editing and the producing, they've created almost a very different painting to the one that I remember. So they can be quite different pieces, if you will, in my head. But recently I went back and watched Rogue One. And what they created in Rogue One just brilliantly was this series of characters who felt like they had a life behind them. All those things that Cassian says about, you know, there's that one moment when he steps up to, I think it was Jyn, when he says, I have been fighting this since I was 5 years old. You have no idea what I have fought for. And so you feel this from within him, but we don't, and it stood within the film so beautifully because Diego played it just extraordinarily. He just is, he's such a charismatic and dedicated and invested actor. You feel that life that he brings to that. But the opportunity to flesh that out and to learn about that is what I think is the genius of Tony Gilroy and Tony's writing and what he has created. And I think he has filled it in a way that I feel like it was always there. You know, I feel like, wow, how did we not know this before?
Pix has a really interesting arc in the first 4 episodes, especially there's that big betrayal around episode 3. And so I wondered, can you talk about the ramifications of that? What does that kind of mean for your character moving forward?
Yeah, you know, I think Bix sort of didn't trust her own judgment. She knew she should have said no. She knew he was up to something, and she sensed it. She's known him for so many years, and she trusts him, but, you know, she has a difficulty believing him at times, and he's always up to something, and he cares for him so deeply and wishes he would change and wishes he would be more stable, and so when when she sees him all sort of distraught and harmed, and his face is all bruised up, she's like, man, you know, I want to say no so bad, and she's almost mad at herself that she says, all right, fine, I'll contact him for you. She's incredibly annoyed, but she knows deep down that she shouldn't have done it. And then, you know, there's this whole betrayal thing that starts stirring up, that just comes to show that she should always trust her own intuition.
Absolutely. So something I really enjoy about the show is it feels very different to a lot of Star Wars shows. It feels very grounded and real. And I wondered, why do you think that's important, and what sets Andor apart for you compared to other Star Wars shows?
Yeah, well, you know, it really is a story about people like you and me. It's so human, and I think it's important to also discover that and explore that, and even if it's in a galaxy far, far away, right? You know, these people are sort of on a cusp of a revolution, and they have nothing in common, yet they have this one thing that they share, which is oppression. And what does that mean? Like, who's gonna be that person that stands up? It's, you know, they need someone to sort of take that stand and take that move. So it's incredibly real and raw and gritty, and I think you really get to know all these characters inside out. You sort of fall in love with everyone. Even from the Empire, you know, you're like, you sort of see the behind the curtain of who these people are and what makes them be the way that they are. So that to me is fascinating. And we haven't quite seen that. You know, we see them sort of play pretend in this, or they're playing at this game, but it's like sort of the demantle of it all. So that I haven't really seen much.
Time, like you say, like there's a slower approach, but it's really important to the characters. I think I totally agree. So I wanted to ask as well about you know, I'm sure a lot of fans were like, oh no, when it was delayed. You know, the few weeks delay came about. So I wondered, as an exec producer, can you shed any light at all on that delay, or is it kind of?
Yeah, definitely. I would say that it was great news, even though I understand people could feel that, yeah, there was let me think. Basically, the big idea behind the push was like, how do we make sure audiences get to understand what the show will be about, you know, what this show is bringing and what we're aiming for, you know, how ambitious it is. I don't think if you see one episode, you'll understand what we're talking about here, you know, in terms of the amount of characters you'll meet, the depth, the range that the show has, because the show obviously delivers adventure and action, but then there's moments where it becomes very intimate and personal, and then it goes to something very political and spyish, and it allows itself to be dark and then to be light again. And for that, to understand that, I think you need to see 3 episodes. I think that was a very smart move, you know, to say, like, you know what, if we want you to understand what the show is gonna bring to you, if we want you to invest your time in our show, you need to understand the big game, and I think it's better, you know. I think it would have been terrible to watch just one show and have to wait a full week. You know?
That's why I feel now.
Also, the show and the writing of Tony Gilroy deserves that, you know. You know, the way I approached this, I was thinking always that we were doing 4 films, you know. That it's the time of 4 films, you know, and the show kind of transforms and keeps evolving, you know. Once you think you know what it's gonna be like, what characters you're gonna see, where it's gonna happen, the show goes somewhere else, you know, and you find other characters, other planets, and the story moves somewhere else, and becomes more and more complicated and more interesting. So the idea of bringing 3 episodes at once, one thing Disney Plus doesn't do, is for you to get invested and to understand what we're hoping to deliver, you know.
Mon Mothma is such an amazing fan favorite character, and I wondered, do you feel a pressure coming back to this role again after the last few times, or is it something it's become more and more comfortable over time for you?
Actually, it was just extraordinary to be offered the opportunity to come back this time and to explore her in a way that we haven't seen before, to really stretch her, to learn about not just this figure, this senator, this leader, but also this woman, to learn about who she is, how she has to navigate life within an imperial senate. What are the sacrifices she has to make? What risks does she have to take? How does she speak up within an imperial senate for democracy?
Yeah, there's some really, really hefty themes which I really love to see within this universe. And I wondered, we haven't really seen Mon Mothma and Cassian kind of meet yet in the screen as I've seen, and I wondered, is there anything you can perhaps just tease about their relationship, or how that comes about, or what that interaction might look like moving forward?
Well, this is Star Wars, so I can't tell you anything. but what I can say is where we begin. We begin with the kernel of rebellion. Previously, we've seen Mon Mothma and Cassian within a structured rebellion, within an organized rebellion. There is a rebel fleet. There are commanders. There are admirals. There are leaders. Cassian Andor. I think I introduce him in Rogue One. This is Cassian Andor from Rebel Intelligence. So it has an intelligence wing. Like, it's pretty organized. When we meet them in Andor, there is no such rebellion. The exciting thing about where we begin is that it is at the spark of rebellion. It's like the rumble of the volcano. It's before they have found each other. It's before there is even a collective voice for rebellion. They first have to acknowledge rebellion within, or rebellions on different planets, cultural rebellions, before there can be a collective rebellion against this very strong and fierce empire.
I really enjoyed both your characters. I think they add something really different. We're used to very traditional villains, as it were, like Darth Vader and stuff, but there's a very real face to your characters. And they're not even villains necessarily. So what's your thoughts on that kind of comparison? Why is it great to see this insight into these characters?
Well, I think, how could you sustain 12 episodes with like just a baddie?
Yeah,
like exactly. It would get really tedious and it would be really boring to play. And I think both of us have done so much work, like on stage, when you have to recreate something every night, like it's new every night, so it's in your system to be able to do that. And so you sort of want to be able to find something that feeds you in the long form episodic thing. Like, if I had just been playing a baddie, I don't think I'd have been that interested in doing the job. And Kyle got a really interesting note from Tony, which was super clever, about, like, tell him.
Yeah, so when I was...
tell him.
Tell him. Tell him what you know.
Tell him everything about yourself,
Thank
Kyle.
you, Mother. So, yeah, when we were talking about Cyril to begin with, and I was like, where does this guy end up? I'm trying to plot out the journey and the line, and he goes, he could end up here, he could end up there. I don't know, man. And I was like, oh, wow, that's so cool. You're allowing me to sit within that space of not knowing, and be in a kind of, in a state of becoming as Cyril. He's trying to figure out where he's going and who he is and where his allegiances lie. Is he pushing the envelope too far? And, Tony doesn't write two dimensions. He writes humans. He writes people. And I think the Star Wars films of old are like incredible. You do get these quite not fully character explored villains, and I think Tony is giving an insight to a side of the Empire that we just haven't seen before. Yeah. The bureaucratic corporate sector that makes it so real to life. It's kind of crazy, and Dedra and Cyril both exist in different aspects of that. And like,
Yeah. But
it's
I
pretty
was
cool.
given the note when I asked, okay, so what's up with her? Like, where's she gonna go? Is she gonna like eventually just fall in love and move to a house in the suburbs? You know, because that happens with so many women who
Open a
start
cake
off.
shop.
Yeah, and she is gonna do that. But I felt like, okay, is this a woman that I get to really show the effects of like power and ambition and the need for control? Can I really go to the wall with this? Like, instead of at some point having to go, actually, I've decided she's really good and she feels really bad about all her bad behavior. And he just went, nah, you can go to the wall. You can just go. And I thought, oh, great. So it's really clever to say that to two actors. So for me, he gave me the same freedom that he gave to Kyle. So I got to go, oh, okay, I don't need to worry about at some point I'm going to have to feel bad for all of this. So do I need to layer that in? Like, I just get to show this woman who is as hungry as any man is for, in that space, for power and control, and then just go with that. And that, to me, was like, it was really exciting, because often we're asked to apologize, you know? And yeah, I think it's really great to have a woman in that space doing that and showing that doesn't matter what gender you are, you can be an asshole. An asshole's an asshole, you know. Not that she's an asshole, I really like her, but you can be a fascist. You know, you can be a really hardline, crazy fascist as a woman too. So let's not make it about just being a girl, you know.